moving testimony. Next, I'd like to recognize one of our faith leaders, Patrick Carlin from the Franciscan Action Network.
Woo, Patrick!
Good morning. Peace and all good. 3 years ago, at this very time, DJ, myself, and several others were just a couple blocks down the road sitting in tents on a 30-day hunger fast called Fast for Families. We started out with 6 of us in that tent that day. We ended up with over 10,000 people joining that fast. 2 months ago, Nakasak, the Franciscans, United We Dream, Firm, and many other immigrant organizations and faith organizations did a 22-day, 24-hour vigil in front of the White House. Several of us got arrested on that vigil. We've been down this road before. We've been down it for too long. The time for empty promises and talk is long overdue. Now is the time to pass a Clean Dream Act. My parents were immigrants. They came to America in 1950. My oldest brother was 2. Today, he would have been considered a dreamer. My parents came to America with nothing. They had no money, no education, just a dream. They raised 6 children, all 6 who went on to graduate college. They had a grandson who served 2 tours in Afghanistan, a granddaughter, my daughter, who just came back from serving a tour in Iraq. They had my brother who came here at 2 years old and served in the Navy during the Vietnam War. The only difference between my family coming here in 1950 and all of these young people coming here today is that at that point in time, our country welcomed the immigrants, welcomed them, cared for them, asked them to come. Today we've changed those rules. Today we say no, we turn them back. My mother used to say, what would have happened if when we got off the boat at Ellis Island, if they said to us, you're not welcome here, go back home, we don't want you. And let me say, my parents came on a visitor's visa, and they stayed. They didn't leave after their 6 months visitor's visa, like most people who came to this country from Europe that came on a visitor's visa and just never left. But the laws then allowed for them to have a green card and finally come get work, get a citizenship. So we've been down this road before for far too long. Most of all of our spiritual traditions teach us that we have to welcome the stranger. We have to care for the immigrant, the poor. The vast majority of the members of Congress claim to be Christian. Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, claims to follow the same faith, the Catholic faith that I follow. He claims to follow Jesus the same way I do. He must be reading a different gospel than I'm reading when he makes that claim. So I would ask all of our members of Congress to please stop pretending to be Christian, stop pretending to be people of faith, and start acting like you're Christian. Pass the DREAM Act today. Peace. Thank you.
And now our great leader, Congress member Raja Krishnamurthy from Illinois.
Good morning. Good morning. I am honored to be here. Thank you for having me, and thank you to Congresswoman Judy Chu for her amazing leadership, Congresswoman Meng, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, and Congressman Al Green have been champions of immigration and the Dreamers. I'm so honored to be with them this morning. For me, the ongoing uncertainty and fear the Dreamers face every day is deeply personal. I too was brought to the United States by parents when I was a child, just 3 months old. My parents came here from oceans away with the hope of a better life, a hope no different than the parents of the Dreamers both here with us today and across the country hold for their children. This is the same hope that has driven every successive wave of immigrants to our shores. They came here because of the promise of this country: stability, a good education, and the ability to climb up in the world. Here in America, you can go from being an immigrant to being a member of Congress. That's what makes America truly great. The Trump administration's decision to end the DACA program was troubling enough, but now there are reports that our year-end spending package will not include a Dreamer fix, despite what the president said in September. That is unacceptable. Dreamers play a vital role in our economy, and ending DACA would cost our country nearly $500 billion over 10 years. Let me repeat that. Nearly $500 billion over 10 years. In Illinois alone, the state would lose over $2.2 billion in our state annually. But the contributions of Dreamers go beyond any single statistic. Dreamers have built their lives here. They've started their families here. And they've bled in uniform for the only home they've ever known, the United States of America. They deserve to stay. That's why it's now on Congress, Republicans and Democrats alike, to find a permanent fix for the DACA population. There is bipartisan support for legislation that protects our Dreamers from deportation and provides them a pathway to citizenship. It's now on Speaker Ryan to put this bill on the floor. I'm a proud co-sponsor of the DREAM Act and the American Hope Act. I'm also working with my colleagues to ensure that the Department of Homeland Security gives every DACA applicant the consideration that they deserve. This is not the time to rush on paperwork. Lives are literally at stake. I join all of you in calling for Speaker Ryan to set partisanship aside and stand with the Dreamers. Are you with me on that?
Yes!
Let's come together and do the right thing. It's true that we all came to America on different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. We are a nation of laws, but we are a nation of immigrants. Let us remember that. That is what makes America exceptional, and let's stay true to our ideals and who we are as Americans. Thank you very much.
And now I'd like to recognize the Congress member who fights for her constituents in Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard.
Thank you, Congresswoman Judy Chu, for your leadership with CAPAC and bringing us all together here today for this urgent and pressing cause. There are over 800,000 people all across the country, including over 600 people in my home state of Hawaii, whose lives are literally hanging in the balance. I had a chance to meet with a group of Dreamers in my home state of Hawaii on the island of Maui not too long ago, and we sat together in a room as they shared their stories of hardship, of hope, and now of fear, of uncertainty, of what lies ahead. People who have known no other home other than the island of Maui or the state of Hawaii. People who face a decision of being sent to a country that they have never known before, that is foreign to them, or falling back into the shadows that they are all too familiar with. Sometimes they're asked, well, why didn't you correct this situation sooner? Why didn't you begin your path to citizenship sooner? What most people don't understand is that for these Dreamers, there has been no path available until DACA was put in place. There was no other choice other than to remain in the shadows. DACA presented that opportunity for people to go to school, to get a job, to start a small business, to begin to think about actually building a future in this country. So that's what's at stake here today, and that is the responsibility that Congress now has to pass legislation, to pass a Clean Dream Act, to provide a permanent resolution to this predicament that too many people are facing all across this country. We cannot afford to wait. We cannot afford to waste any more time. We must stand together, Republicans and Democrats as Americans, to pass a permanent solution to this, to pass the DREAM Act now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have another Dreamer. And guess what? She has a PhD. She's currently working for her PhD at Texas Tech University. How about that? That is Sabah, not Bees. And let me also recognize that we've been joined by Congressmember Al Green from Texas and Congressmember Camilla Jayapal from the state of Washington.
Thank you, Congresswoman Judy Chu. Like she said, I'm a PhD candidate at Texas Tech University. I'm a Red Raider, I'm a Texan, I'm an American, and I'm a Dreamer. And I'm really honored to be here. And with that, I'll share with you a quick poem I wrote a few years ago when I first came forward as being undocumented. So it's a pretty emotional poem, so stay with me here. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. I sing and speak of my country, land where my father died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside. Oh America, listen to this plea. Oh mother country, forgive me for this loyalty. Of both I sing. But which is my country? I am amidst two homes, both equal, both beloved. For I owe my birth to one, but my art to another. My seeds to one, but my nurture to the other. Land of the pilgrim's pride, but America, you are this pilgrim's pride. If only you remain my guide, and if only you embrace my side, I shall sing, let freedom ring. Mr. President and congressional leaders know that the above poem expresses the sentiments of millions of young people. In particular, it reveals my story of coming to the United States when I was just 11. We came here on a visitor's visa and just happened to overstay because my petitioner, my grandfather, passed away during our green card process. Mr. President, through these words and congressional leaders, through these words, I hope my fellow dreamers and I can lay out to you our personal struggle of being in a country which we love, one for which we will die serving, one to which we contribute to every day, and also the one in which our upper bounds suffocate us. Mr. President and congressional leaders, we wish there were words to describe the mixture of pains, the sorrows, the tragedies, the conflicts, the love, the beauty, the opportunities, the loyalty, the hopes, and the faith that we dreamers and our families experience in every quantum of our lives. But words escape us. Mr. President and congressional leaders, it is time we take action, and we take action now, and we turn the tides. Freedom and liberty have profound prices. Our founding fathers have paid these prices and envisioned for our nation to persevere through divisions. In light of this, the youth of America has taken the critical action to mobilize. We realize that if we were to make a difference in the lives of Americans, pursue justice for all, and fight for the welfare of our nation, we must take action, and we must take it now. Mr. President and congressional leaders, now more than ever, we have acted boldly, and we need you to stand by our side. We need the DREAM Act. We need a clean DREAM Act to pass before the end of the year. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for those beautiful words, Sabah. And now we have Joanna Puno-Hester from the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joanna Puno-Hester. I am an international vice president for the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. I am also a national officer of APALA, the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, and an assistant executive director for the United Domestic Workers of America out in California. I came to the U.S. when I was 15, and a few days after arriving, my father took my brothers and I to a picket line where workers demanded to be treated fairly by their bosses. Many of these workers looked like my father and I. They were black, they were brown, and they were immigrants. I quickly realized that in this country of milk and honey, a country of opportunities, nothing is won without a fight. That's why today's fight for the 11 million undocumented immigrants and the hundreds of thousands more refugees group in this is a personal one. I have been organizing workers for more than 2 decades, and never have I seen a more vicious administration than this, where imminent threat against our families, our friends, our communities are in front of us. And in a time where white supremacists feel emboldened to act with hate violence in Charlottesville and with hate rhetoric in Edison, in a time where our own union members' rights to organize are being threatened, and in a time where Muslim and undocumented brothers and sisters are under constant attack, we need to fight back. You agree?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The Trump administration has clearly defined itself as an anti-worker, white supremacist, and a xenophobic regime, stoking fear into communities of color. With a string of failed immigration policies, perhaps the most outrageous one is the killing of the DACA program, which now puts 800,000 immigrant youths and over 16,000 Asian American immigrants under threat of detention and deportation. And if we don't fight now, if we don't fight for the diverse country America has become, millions of lives will suffer. Today we have the power to build and advocate for a future where Black lives matter, where Native people's land and our water supply are defended, where immigrant families are kept together instead of torn apart. With last week's revoking of the TPS for Nicaraguans and soon thousands more from Honduras, El Salvador, and Haiti, what we are seeing today are some of the tactics to rid anyone in this country who isn't white. And we are now calling on Congress to do better. We call on Congress to support a pathway to for citizenship for all 11 million undocumented immigrants. What this looks like is passing a DREAM Act now. This means no additional funding for increased border enforcement. This means no expanded detention beds and deportation, including those with criminal conviction records. This means no building of a border wall, no changes to the family immigration system, and no changes to immigrants' access to public benefits. Our Asian American Pacific Islander communities refuse to be a wedge group, so we join together with our brothers and sisters and siblings to denounce and fight back against white supremacy and racism, because we know that an attack to one is an attack to all. So what do we do when immigrants' rights are under attack?
Stand up like that.
When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up like that.
Thank you, sisters and brothers.
Thank you.
And now, from a dreamer and a DACA recipient and representing Aspire, Steve.